Now, when the person washes their hair, especially in Georgia, right, it looks flatter when it's first washed, right? Reason is water removes your fullness until it's fully dry. Also, when you sweat in Georgia, when your hair gets damp, right, from the sweat, again, it gets water in it and looks not as full as well. And if you only bathe once a day in Georgia, right, your hair the following day can look a little matted or not as full as well. That's all it really takes is about a day or two to look like that as well. It's not male pattern baldness, that's a different thing. Or a receding hairline, that's a different thing. If you're blind as a bat, not even a bat can help you. Though they have eyes, they don't see like we see. Though they have ears, they don't hear how we hear. And if you don't understand a mystery, you're being willfully deaf, dumb, and blind to it, right? And it's one man leading you astray, and his name is Simon Peter, who they also call Cephas, right? Or Cepha, meaning rock, in the Greek and Hebrew. The man has become what John warned you he would become, right? The Antichrist. If Christ is not male only, right? Like all Jewish men, he was taught their Messiah was male. He's not. He never was. And he's the God you're supposed to follow. And God is no man, Peter. El Anoki Lo Ish. I don't know what man taught you the wrong doctrine, but it was a man, right? Men. And you can't fear their power of destruction through Satan more than you fear God to do the right things. Now, agape love, Peter, prophecies can cease. Do you understand? Especially destroying your own planet from within, right? With nuclear wars and neutron bomb development, right? I know you're working on the technology even now, not just cars that drive themselves, not just robots or things like that, right? Which lazy humans would buy. Or only those who need help, I guess, right? I ain't saying there ain't kind of a market for it, but come on, right? Which one? Now, even in an 82-degree house, right? And outside us between the lower to upper 90s in the month we in. Is it May, June, July, right? These 3 months are the hottest months, right? Right. Especially in Georgia. And our nights get longer in the winter. That's why we turn the clock back an hour here, right? All the way up the East Coast, you have less sunlight, and your children have to go to school in darkness if they're riding a bus. It's also harder to see at night. Now, when Mary sees Jesus, right, she went to Peter and John, right, telling them that the tomb was empty. Someone had taken her Lord, right? And it's probably still before dawn, right? When it's still dark, right? It's usually darkest before the dawn, right? Old saying I heard growing up. And some people don't want to accept the truth, but you gotta try to tell them anyway. And with forgiveness, because nobody's perfect in your heart, right? As Jesus tried to tell us, right? He showed the scriptures to the disciples, even if they didn't listen well. Especially Peter. Now, he knows Jesus was resurrected. That ain't the problem. It's what he did before. They took his body. 500 men, right? 500 saw him after he was on the cross, right? And before morning. I don't know who all was in on it, right? But 500 men could easily roll back a stone, overpower the guards, right? And steal his body, like Matthew said, right? They did. But what they do with it? Peter had them to throw it in Gehenna naked, right? Despite all the wounds, despite all he went through, right? Despite the palm print in his hand, right? Of the nail. And unlike Peter, he wasn't crucified upside down, was he, Peter? Your whole weight, your hands couldn't support. They would have to nail you through the wrist. Shrouded Turin maker. Who do you think's on the shroud of Turin? You think Jesus was 5'10"? Nah. Peter was. Kind of like Saul there. You know who Saul is. The evil king who knew David was the next king, but David tried to work with until he died at the hands of the Philistines, worshiping male and female idols in the likeness of men and women. That's the real sin, Peter. That's the real idolatry. Moses said so, not Shane, right? Not just the Gnostics, right? Not just Paul. John 2. You have witnesses who are witnessing against your false doctrine with the Catholic Church. Well, whoever's on the shroud, their image shouldn't be on the shroud, right? And Jesus was wrapped or bound head to foot, right? You can't leave it a clear image there. Resurrected or not. And you're brainwashing yourself, right? To think he's male only. I know. That definitely ain't scriptural. Even though he's referred to as if a male, right? He's also referred to as if a female. Didn't David say the father and mother? Abi, va, Ami, right? Or Ama? I don't know. The mother and father forsake me. Then Yahuwah, who he, will take me up. Now, Yahuwah is from Eliyahu, right? And the Jews also quit using the divine name before Jesus came as well. Instead of telling the people around them the true name of God, they started keeping it a little secret, huh? Right? Ancient Jewish secret, huh? I guess so. Even you pretend no one can know how it's pronounced, which don't make sense, right? There's two men who would know. Moses and Elijah. Moshe and Eliyahu, Sar and Sarah would know the name. I know. Abraham too. Ham from Abraham without an H, right? to Abraham. From Sarai, which is Sary, right? IY, I'm sorry. She's a she. That still means mistress, by the way. The difference is it was changed from a Y to an H. So Sari became Sar. And I'm no more talking to Sarah, Michelle Gellar, or Sarah, my next door neighbor. It's just coincidentally they're named the same thing. Even Kim could be Little Kim or Kim Kardashian. I know both attractive women. And I know Biggie Smalls and all that. And I've seen her ride and be. That's fine. I know it happens, right? I don't judge humanity for being human, Peter. Satan is getting you to do that. And if God didn't forgive us, the death of Satan would have affected us more drastically, right? And us not die 120 years later either, right? Or every 120 years after Jesus left. At least 500 of you saw his body, right? Paul had a vision of Jesus, right? Where a light shone down from heaven. The men saw the light but didn't hear the voice. Do you hear his voice anymore, Peter? Or did you never hear his voice? Are you a follower of your own version of the scriptures or the whole scriptures, right? Even Job said in 9:31, for he is not a man as I am. I'm a man as Job, but you're not. Or you all are. We all are as Job, right? We're fallen men. But guess what? Your women fell in the sin too, right? You're blaming her and saying, well, Jesus don't have to cover her sins. And just mine. You don't get that's what it's about either, huh? All have sinned. Jew, Gentile, bond free, male and female. The female first, right? So she's the penetrator, not the penetratee normally. Satan wanted to penetrate her buttocks, right? And Adam's too, right? I'm not anti-gay, right? What I'm saying is he didn't do it in love, right? Or agape love, or caring about the person he had sex with that way. And knowing none of them did it that way, not Eve or Adam, right? But also perhaps being gentler with the female, letting the male experience both of his holes. A 2-for-1 deal, right? Sounds like a deal with the devil to me, right? He'll offer you 2 for the price of 1, right? And then when it's his turn, you wish he'd never been born, right? And he'll change your whole perspective of reality in a moment. Within 2 to 3 minutes. You'd wish you were never born and never experienced that kind of penetration before. But it is better to give to than receive, if you're a male, right? The female has to receive. At least in the top hole. It's the bottom hole that's optional, right? Gay or straight, too, if you love each other, right? True love covers the multitude of sin. Condemning love condemns every little mistake you make, even minor ones like the songs you listen to on the radio. Or saying a bad word people don't like and are easily offended by. Like F-U-C-K, right? I can spell the word at least, right? That means fornication, unlawful carnal knowledge. It's an acronym for it, right? The Bible don't say you can't use an acronym if you say fornication, right? It don't. You just think you're being holier than thou when you do so. You're not. No. In fact, you're condemning yourself if you say fornication alone, right? You understand? You're condemning a word you're pretending you don't know what it means, which means the same thing as fornication, except it's kind of a contraction. The words F-U-C, at least, are in the word fornication, right? F-O-R, right? For N, N-I, K, C, A-T-I-O-N, right? Or is it ooh? I know. Or is it E? I don't know, right? But whatever you're doing, you're choosing to do it in ignorance, right? When you do something in ignorance, a sacrifice does cover your sin, but only to a certain point, right? And then you either need to re-sacrifice something to cover them further, right? I don't know. Or change what you're doing and start doing it right. Truly right. Okay.